Baseball, not always the best team wins, right? You got to still go out there and get it done.
Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk. Always powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Make sure you're checking out Game 7 Baseball. Great venues, great stuff going on. Register your team at game7baseball.com. Go check out Youth Baseball Midwest. We got some. We're going to be having some fun out at some tournaments with Game 7 Baseball. We'll open up with Arch Madness at the WAC. We have our Super 7 14U Invitational. We sent out the invitations. Please sign up. We had 28 teams out there last year. We got a great look at a lot of different teams. It was a lot of fun. 3 days of baseball, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we hope to see all those 14U teams out there this year. Game7baseball.com, folks. You can follow us on X at YBMcast. Oh, I messed up, Drew. At YBM_cast. There it is. And on IG, Facebook, and yes, folks, they talked me into it. We are TikToking. Whatever that means, that's what we're doing. And I'm an old guy, so if you all folks hang out on the TikTok, our social manager, Lauren, she's doing a great job getting out all the social stuff. IG, Facebook, TikTok, at Youth Baseball Midwest. Make sure, hey, join us there. On the show today, on the Prime Sports Call Link, we have the head coach from O'Fallon Township over in Illinois, the Panthers, head coach Dave Causey. Dave, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thank you so much for having us on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I want to start off. We were talking about yesterday on the show. I did our baseball talk show. We were talking about. I'm looking through all the records, state records, on the Missouri side, the Illinois side, and it's kind of cool. And last year in 2025, there was a young man, I believe his name, Drew, can you flip that over? I think I've got it up on my notes there on the screen. There it is. Yes. His name is Bren Milburn. I have no idea where Crete Monty is.
No, I don't either.
That's the high school, Crete Monty. His name is Bren Milburn. He set the single season stolen base record for the state of Illinois. Do you have what would your thought be on this number, Coach, for a single season?
We had a young man by the name of Josh Gibson who his senior year broke our school record, and I want to say he had 60 in a 30-game season. So I would say if this is a state record for a season, it has to break that. I'm going to put it at 80.
That's a pretty good guess. The former record was 73 total.
Okay.
So you were pretty close. This kid stole 93 bases last year, Coach.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
And a small school, think about that. I mean, honestly, a smaller school is probably not playing that 30-some games. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know this school, and I didn't have a chance to really get into the research of it too much because it's just busy. But I just saw that. I had to mention it. So you folks watching, if you know where Crete Monty is, if you know who this kid is, I'd love to talk to him for one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing.
That 93 bases, that blew me away in a high school season. Heck, man. That was amazing. So congrats, young man. 2025. We're going to keep doing some of those things. I love the history of baseball. It's always a lot of fun. Give these shout outs. But today, Coach, we wanted to, first of all, just wanted to get to know you a little bit. your first year as the head coach over there at O'Fallon was last year. Take us a little bit through your journey.
So this is going to be my 25th season coaching high school baseball in some aspect. I started out as a freshman coach, actually at Belleville-Altoff, all the way back in 2001 under Brett Isaacs. I coached another year there and then came to O'Fallon, got hired at O'Fallon. So I've been here for close to 23 years and coached freshman ball for a little while, then went back to Altoff. Got a chance to coach varsity baseball for the first time as an assistant, once again under Brett Isaacs. And then after several seasons there, I became a head coach at Lebanon High School, home of the McKendree Bearcats. Coached the Greyhounds at Lebanon for 4 years, won a couple of regionals, got a couple of postseasons underneath my belt there. But I will say the small school environment was very different for me when I coached at Lebanon. They're a school where a graduating class is only in the 50s or 60s. And I remember my last season coaching there, we only had 9 kids in the entire program. And so it was a challenge. And so I ended up actually, Joe Bauer got the position at O'Fallon, the previous coach before me. And him and I had worked together at the high school for a long time, and it was nice to actually come back to the school that I had taught at for so long. And I was his outfield coach and first base coach for the last 5 to 6 seasons before he stepped down and gave me the opportunity to now be a head coach here.
That's awesome. I don't think people realize you had 9 kids in the whole program.
And in all fairness, that 9th kid had never played high school baseball before. We had to beg him to come out. And that was after winning the regional 2 years in a row, winning the conference 2 years in a row. And it was more of a soccer school than a baseball school. And so it was hard. It was hard, especially for those seniors who had been with me since I took over the program the previous 3 years. But we managed, and we got some great stories out of it. Nothing but positivity. I love the AD over there. I'll shout out Chad Cruthis. He was an awesome guy to coach from, and I got a lot of good learning lessons from them.
That is amazing that you won a couple regionals with that. I mean, so how do you take those lessons? How do you bring that thought process into this large school mentality?
Well, if you look at the evolution of my coaching style, I think very early on, like a lot of young men, everything was about winning, right? Mm. And it was gun ho, very intense, a lot of running as punishment and yelling and screaming at times, and a lot of fire. And what I learned, and this was particularly under the true mentorship of Brett Isaacs, who is still a very close friend of mine. Him and I run a free camp over in Belleville, the Mike Kelly Foundation camp, and we still stay in touch. He taught me at the varsity level when I went back and taught for him or coached for him that that has its place, mm-hmm. But if you do that the entire time, it just becomes noise. And he taught me that, there's some kids to respond to that, and there's some kids who need a little bit more positivity and encouragement. And it took me coaching at a smaller school to really apply that. My first year in, I was hell-bent on winning and wanting to go. And after the first year, which we had a decent season, I started to kind of soften the reins a little bit and get to know the kids a little bit better and try to enforce a little bit more positivity. And it worked. The kids responded a lot better to those messages. And we ended up really putting together 2 very good seasons back to back. Another lesson that I learned from it was I only had one assistant coach. And that was a jugs machine from 1988 that served as my pitching coach, extra fungo hitter, and he hit great outfield fly balls. on the spot every single time.
That's fantastic.
And so it took a lot. I mean, I really had to get very efficient at practices. I had to learn to trust kids to go take swings on their own. It was one of those things where I really streamlined my practices to where 90 minutes almost every day, which, as a coach now, we really try to streamline our varsity practices to where we're not going to get everything in the first 2-3 practices, but we're going to continue to reinforce it for the next 2-3 months. Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to spend 20-30 minutes on bunt defenses. We're going to spend 10 minutes, but then we're going to revisit that the next 10 minutes the next day and the next day and the next day. And I feel, has definitely helped in terms of making sure kids understand that this practice time is valuable because of how short it's be and how intense it's going to be in that short time.
I think it's interesting, especially, we're in that time. I'm not quite sure. I know you guys have a coaches. When do you do your clinic, your state clinic?
So the state clinic was actually back in December. December. Me and an assistant went up there and did it. And it was the first time I've ever attended. I do the APCA one, the big one, every once in a while. Love those. Absolutely love those. But the state one this year was so impressive in who they brought to speak. You had the LSU coach, head baseball coach there. They had the Alabama head softball coach there who was awesome. He was a hitting coach for a while, and now he's like the mental coach for the Blue Jays. His name was Steve Springer. Probably one of the best speakers I've seen at one of these baseball conventions. Very old school in terms of his approach, but also about positivity and really trying to convince kids that they can do anything they set their minds to, and just really enjoyed those. But that was back in December, and it's always good to do that around that time period because it gets the juices flowing, right? I mean, you're getting into that next season as you pass New Year's, and it was a very positive experience this year.
When you're attending stuff, and the ABCA just finished up again this year or this past week, what are topics that you look for? What are you looking for when you're at the subject matter and the topics that, as a coach in your space at this point in your career, what are the things? I mean, I understand there's basic stuff, but there's got to be, what challenges you?
Well, I will tell you, when Joe Bauer asked me to come back to O'Fallon and told me I was going to be an outfield coach, I told him thank you because I wanted the job, but at the same time, I had never coached outfield or played outfield in my life. I was a third baseman in college and a closing pitcher in college, and I was always very big on infield and pitching as the two areas I focused on when I coached. And so when I went to that ABCA meeting conference that year, which was in Nashville, I couldn't find enough outfield people talking and giving me drills and ideas and philosophies of outfield. And I kind of developed a love for outfield based upon what I found there, and then translated and kind of evolved into my own little set of drills and what I'm talking about with kids. So I definitely still go into conventions looking for just any kind of drill or, there was one on indoor. There was the University of Maine coach, and his entire presentation, because Maine only plays 5 games outside the entire year because of the snow and the weather, was how do you practice inside and how do you maximize space on the inside? And so I thought that was a actually brilliant approach to these conventions compared to what you normally hear. But now I have to admit, being in charge of such a large program that we have here in O'Fallon, we have, 25 kids on the JV. We have 30 kids on the freshman team besides just the other 20, 25 on the varsity team. It's a lot of mentality, a lot of philosophy. How do you organize and structure practice? It's a lot of those things that maybe 25, 28-year-old Dave Causey would have found extremely boring and would have immediately thought, now it's time to go to the lobby bar. It's now really stuff that I want to focus on and pay attention to.
I love that. I think that's so interesting. The growth, the maturity. We talk about that with players, and we want that, but we don't necessarily sometimes think about that about ourselves on the coaching side. But that you see those things that move. And the last thing with this, I think it's fascinating, and I think we're seeing it more and more. I know over the past few years when they moved, because I think it was 2021. It might have been 2019. One of those 2 years, Missouri went to a Class 6, and you got these very big schools like yours. What you're dealing with, you guys I know are Class 4, and which is the top end, but it's a similar scale. And I talked to a lot of coaches with that. You've had to become more of, I think it's that managing aspect of the actual program, dealing with personalities, today, especially with, I think with how baseball has grown, you've got the kids really working toward, with the social media and then working towards college. How much has it changed? I mean, you think back when you were in school to what you're seeing today and how you have to probably manage egos a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because you could create 3-4 more shows talking to me on this topic. I think travel ball has just completely changed the game in so many ways. I mean, let's take the aspect that kids don't have a month off anymore. They don't have 3 months off anymore. I mean, when I was growing up, baseball was from March to July, and that was it. And then you went off and played another sport. I grew up in Centralia, so Centralia was kind of a smaller school at that time, and you were expected to play multiple sports. There were a lot of guys that played football, played basketball, played baseball. I wasn't particularly one of them, but you had an off season. Now kids are training literally 12 months out of the year. Here in the state of Illinois, we just passed a law. The IHSA is now allowing them to attend 2 out-of-season competitions or in-season competitions, which I think is disastrous to high school sports. And now saying that if a kid wants to go to a showcase in the middle of your season, I can't do anything about it. And they can go throw as hard as they can against the wall to hit the magic number of 90 so that maybe a scout will give them a chance, while at the same time, you're hoping that kid was going to throw 60, 70 innings that Tuesday. I think it's like I said, 2-3 shows on the topic, but when it comes to managing kids in this day and age, they are driven by video. They are driven by likes. They understand there's a game within a game in terms of what clip of film can I produce that is going to get me noticed on social media. What's going to get my name out there. And so, one thing that we're trying to do here is catch up with technology at OTHS. We're trying to get internet at our ballpark and get some cameras up. So not only can we live broadcast games and allow kids to get that little snip of film and put together a highlight reel, a sizzle reel, as I like to call it. But also, we want to use that technology for practice to give them instant feedback on drills that we're having them do and things like that. But I will tell you this. I think one of the biggest reasons we had success last year was we got out of kids' way. And what I mean by that is, as a staff, we made a conscious decision that we're going to push for things to be done a certain way. But after that, we want kids to have fun. We want kids to have fun. And we try to have a lot of competition practices where we keep kids competing against each other. We throw a lot of wrinkles in, but the main thing is we want kids excited to come to the ballpark. And even in the dead of March, May, and be excited about coming to practice, be excited about coming to games. And any way we can do that to where we're keeping bench players involved and we're keeping pitchers who may only throw once a week involved. And we want to make sure that the game is something exciting for them and it's not a grind or a chore.
I love that. I love that. So speaking of which, you've had, I was looking through the history. O'Fallon's had, since 1991, I went back that far, 18 20 plus win seasons, 10 of the 10 30 win seasons. So that's 28 out of that you've been double digits in that, and you've had other seasons with double digit. You haven't had anything less than double digit wins since that time. Wow, that's a lot of success. The program now, I look at this and I don't know as much about the kids on that side. And that's one of the things we want to try and rectify, because baseball over in that area, the more we've looked, the more we've ventured over into the Illinois side. I mean, baseball in the Midwest is really good. And especially Missouri, Illinois, there's some really high-level baseball being played. Talk to us a little bit about, we're going to start, pitching wise, who are some of the kids you're going to be leaning on this year? I know you had some arms that graduated last year. But where's your staff at this point, Coach?
I would say on paper, because you never know what's going to happen during season, our stable of pitchers on the mound this year is probably our greatest strength. We've got a lot of kids returning that threw for us last year. Obviously, it's going to be very hard to replace the guy who defeated Edwardsville and was our ace throughout the season, Connor Blue, who's now throwing for the University of Cincinnati and just had a phenomenal all-state caliber year. But we've got four seniors that we are going to lean on heavily to kind of anchor down that weekly pitching rotation. And then from there, we saw a lot of young arms. One of the things that I try to do in the scheduling is I try to book in the schedule to where we play a lot of games early and then a lot of games late. I don't want to practice in May. That's a philosophy of mine. May's for baseball. You go out and play games in May. But you front load the schedule to see what you have, right? And so we saw a lot of pitching from kids who ended up pitching JV through the rest of April and May. In March, though, in varsity game situations. And I think it showed us a lot of what we can expect from kids in crucial situations. Now, we also had injuries. Pitch counts are always hard to deal with in the month of March because you don't want to overthrow kids early. But we got a lot of young arms that we are excited about. A lot of juniors who had varsity innings logged in last year. We've got some freshmen that threw games. Actually, the kid that threw the sectional championship for us last year was a freshman. And he pitched 2-3 crucial games for us at the end of the regular season, proved he had the maturity to handle it. And so we've got him as a sophomore coming back this year, along with another freshman who threw the last game of the regular season and proved he was capable of doing things. And so we're very excited about our arms. And if you look at the schedule that we put together, it's going to be out on Max Preps probably in the next 2 weeks. We are not shying away from competition. I can read you off. We play 9 games in 7 days right before Easter. And we play Vianney, Fort Zumwalt West, DeSmet, North Point, Blue Springs South, Francis Howell North, Triad. I'm very excited about the schedule and the fact that we're playing all of those, huge baseball schools in a row. And, I think we have the pitching to actually be able to do that this year. So very excited about our staff.
Yeah, go ahead and challenge yourself, Coach. Oh my goodness. Yeah. When you're looking at that, I start researching in December, and I know people go, oh, you got, but I do. I start researching in December teams, and I start looking at rosters as best I can. Sometimes it's just hard to find information, but especially around here in the St. Louis metro, we know a lot of the kids, know a lot of the players, and just the schools that you're mentioning there. We've got, I think all of them. We have, class 6 or 5 in the top 20. I mean,
Yeah.
that's and Triad, from what I understand, over there, as we've been talking, they were good last year. They're going to be good again this year. So yeah, I love that mentality when you start talking about challenging your kids, because when it comes May and playoff time, that's who you're going to be facing.
Yeah, we gave ourselves a nickname last year, if you followed us, in the fact that we won, I would say, a third of our games in the last 2 innings. And we just had a pattern of not really putting up a lot of runs early, having our pitching and defense keep us in the game, and then all of a sudden having an explosion in the last 2 innings, 6th or 7th inning. Won a couple of games by walk-off home runs or walk-off hits. And so we nicknamed ourselves the Cardiac Cats because they were giving me a heart attack being my first year coaching this program. But, for me, it's not about wins and losses in the months of March and April. I mean, I just read off what could be 9 losses in a row for us right there. I hope it's not. But for me, it's about, finding out who you are as a team by May. Yeah. And then as a staff, our job is to make sure we're playing our best baseball in May and putting together the team that's going to take us to the postseason. And I think that, regardless of record, as long as you're playing your best baseball in May and you've got that slow, maybe momentum build up to the playoffs, then you've got a chance against anybody. And so, I was very happy how the kids responded to what we were trying to do last year, and making it to the sectional championship my first year was a dream come true. And in no way, shape, or form did I think we, at the beginning of the season, would be beating Edwardsville in a sectional semi and then going up and really, really having a chance against Normal Community. Hats off to them. I think they finished 3rd in state, and they played a great game against us. But yeah, you're right. Just the area in general, from the metro of St. Louis on the Missouri side to what we have over here. I mean, you could play easily. You could fill your schedule of 35 games easily within a 60-mile radius right there.
And have serious challenges every single game. You're going to see arms. You're going to see guys that can swing it up and down the lineup. I think one of the interesting things here, and you were talking about your hanging hat offensively, are you going to be challenged, in that 6 through 9 space, or do you feel like you're going to be able to get your depth down through your lineup?
I think for us, since I just talked about our strength, I think our weakness, if there will be one this season, is going to be trying to match what we did offensively last year. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, again, falls on Connor Blue, who led the area in, I believe, RBIs. Mm-hmm. He was a powerhouse for us last year. And I don't expect one guy to take the spot of Connor Blue. I hope several guys take the place of Connor Blue in terms of run production, in terms of getting on base. We have, I think, 6 seniors who deserve to be in our lineup each and every day coming back from last year. So we've got a lot of leadership. We've got a lot of kids who have played 2-3 years of baseball here for O'Fallon. But I think we're not going to be a doubles home runs team. I think we're going to have to be that hard out at the plate, work counts, work walks, find ways to get runners on base, and just kind of manufacture. And I hope the kids buy into the idea that they're not, because, with launch angle and all the stuff that they're taught now, they think they're home run hitters. And you have to kind of hopefully train them into just, squaring a ball up, even if it is a hard line drive right at the second baseman, and be happy with that. Especially, my goodness, the arms that we see anymore in this area is just unbelievable. I mean, everyone's throwing 88 to 90 miles per hour and have a hard slider and can nibble off the corner. And it's just, I think we're going to have to really come to an understanding that there's nothing wrong with a walk. There's nothing wrong with fouling off 5-6 pitches and striking out, but still getting him to throw an extra 5-6 pitches in an at bat to get him out of the game a little earlier. I think we're going to have to keep that big picture in mind, that if we can just continuously put runners on base and put pressure on other teams, we're doing our job. And I hope we can do that offensively this year.
Yeah, hitting has become so difficult at the large school level just because, and I think, it goes back to your point in the summertime, with the club baseball, it has its negatives, but I think that's one of the positives out of it in that respect is these kids are learning, the information. I've loved having, we've had Brett Graves from Premier Pitching Performance, his podcast. He brought it over to our channel. Really, I've just loved it. And the information, just learning and just listening to what he talks about with pitching and the depth and the breadth of knowledge that these kids probably just even 10 years ago weren't getting. And how much it's, I think, helped the depth of high school pitching, especially in a large school.
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, most of our kids in some way, shape, or form are going to these pitching labs and hitting labs in the off season and continuously tweaking and fine tuning to where we don't really have to do much with them during the season. And that's actually a benefit to us, because at Lebanon, for example, where I coached before, you had to teach them everything. I mean, you had to break the game down to the very basics of what you had to do. But here we get a lot of kids, they already have a warm-up routine. They are, pitchers with their plyo balls and the drive line stuff and everything else. They have a formula already established, and you just let them do their own thing and then coach them up on other aspects. I'm a big situational baseball coach. I love coaching different situations, rundowns, and the most bizarre things, and trying to prepare them for anything the game can teach them. But if you have to take half an hour of practice and teach them how to hold a bat right, or how to warm up properly, it can eat into your time. And it's nice to actually know that a lot of these kids are learning that on the side in their travel programs, and you benefit from that as an organizational coach. Absolutely.
Coach, we've talked about it. We brought it up. The Southwestern Conference, and it's, I've been doing more and more research on the different schools and whatnot. And I know there's going to be a couple schools coming. I think Triad and Waterloo are coming. Is that next year?
Yeah. So it's Triad, Granite City, and Mascoutah that will be joining our Southwestern Conference next year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Granite City and Mascoutah. Yeah. And I got my engineer over there is an old Granite City kid.
Warriors. Brand new facility, brand new turf field going in. They're going to really update their facility. Yeah.
Hey, they're heading over into that Southwestern Conference. Yeah,
that's right.
Got to do it. And so here you are adding a Mascoutah, which is a really good baseball program, a Triad, into already Alton, Belleville, West and East, Collinsville, East St. Louis, Edwardsville, and your squad, O'Fallon. Wow. That is definitely a power conference, Coach.
Yeah, I will say, no matter how much you try to prepare for Southwest Conference baseball, and I thought I had put together a pretty good preliminary schedule before going into April and playing Southwestern Conference baseball, my first experience coaching against a Ryan Wiggs from East or a Todd Baltz from West was so eye-opening. Those games mean so much more. not just to the coaches, but to the players. There's a lot of bragging rights because those kids know those kids from summer ball. And there's just an intensity that exists there. But I will also say this, gosh dog, the coaches in this Southwestern Conference are phenomenal. I don't want to play Todd Baltz's Belleville West team in postseason. No matter what record he has in the regular season, he's always got his teams ready to go in postseason. By our scouting, Belleville East was supposed to be down last year, and all of a sudden they've got guys hitting 400 or 500 in the middle of the season and competing and stealing bases and scoring runs left and right, and they were trouble for us every time that we played them. Scott Harper turned Alton around in just a matter of years and has really turned them. We started postseason last year with our ace, thankfully, just shutting down Alton's offense and giving us a chance to scratch over a few runs, but they were a handful every time we played them. I mean, I think nowadays, and bringing in Triad, bringing in Muscuda, as you mentioned, I think nowadays the Southwest Conference is just as competitive as anything you want to put up from Chicago. And I think if you need proof of that, look at what Tim Funkhauser has done in Edwardsville. He has set the gold standard for what coaching has to be, not just in the Southwest Conference, but in the state. But I also think Tim would admit that grindstone he used to sharpen the sword that made the Tigers so great was the Southwestern Conference and playing some of these phenomenal programs.
And, that to me, and that's what I'm saying, I look at this, and then even in the area, heck, you could go over to Father McGivney in the class, it could be class 2, and get your butt kicked.
Yeah, well, Freeburg is another one. Waterloo deserves credit. Columbia is I think only 2A, but they still, they're very competitive. And, the one thing you run into is you're usually playing these smaller schools in between conference games. We're playing Columbia, we're playing Freeburg in between conference games. So you're not going to throw your number 1 or 2. You're not going to throw your 3 or 4 that you use for relief in your conference game. So you're throwing your 5 or 6, which is, normally that's someone that doesn't log in a lot of innings, and you're probably giving them a chance to jump on top very early, and you've got to compete with them. And so I love it. I loved it as a small school coach playing larger schools. I don't want to bash Coach Eddie at all. I love Coach Eddie over at Muscuda, but my very first win at Lebanon was against Muscuda, and you would have thought we had beaten a Major League Baseball team with the way those Greyhounds reacted. And so I thank him for giving my first win at Lebanon. But you're right. It's so competitive over here, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I think there's nothing greater to me than filling the stands with passionate fans who are rooting for West or rooting for Alton, and as well as our fans, and playing those games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's awesome.
And I haven't seen all of them, but I love your venue over there. As we got to go over there a few years ago, I love that venue. It's got that, that old ballpark feel. It's right there on the street. I was thinking somebody was going to hit the Dairy Queen over there with a home run or something.
It's happened before. It's very memorable. That's very memorable when it happens.
So, but it's a great venue. Edwardsville, of course. That's a small college over there. Atmosphere.
Yes,
and kudos to them. I love that. I love that aspect of it. And when you're seeing baseball played at that level, it needs to have that respect, I think, because these kids are working hard. They're putting in the work. We have great coaches all throughout. And just listening to you today, I can understand why you guys are having success. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm hoping I will definitely have you back, and and that's one of the things, one of our goals is to get more eyeballs onto that Illinois side. Because I know Diego, he's been on the show with us. He talks a lot about it, but he talks about Freeburg. And, Coach, I love what you said there with the Freeburg part because, you say it's my 5 or 6. I got to do this. But those are valuable innings for those kids because that's a really good baseball team. I know it's not the same class, but they're still a really good, and they can beat you. And so you have to that kid has to be able to go in and have that same mentality and understand what he's growing towards, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not trying to knock Freeburg or any other
No.
smaller school, but I will say you have nothing really to gain by beating up on a Freeburg. They have everything to gain in beating up on you because, and I say this to my players all the time when we go into these games that maybe, I guess the terminology is a trap game, that O that we wear on our hats might as well have crosshairs on it. And that we're a target for every single school that wants to play us because it's a feather in their cap to beat O'Fallon, to beat Edwardsville, to beat any of these big Southwestern schools at the 4A level. And so, it's important, I think, to remind kids that there's always going to be an arm that comes out of nowhere that can beat you. There's always a mistake that a pitcher, even our ace, can leave over the plate and some kid can run into. And so you've got to be prepared for every game, for every situation, and never take your eye off the ball. And so we try to, as best as I know, our coaching staff does a phenomenal job of getting our kids prepared for every day and every game. And I'm blessed to coach at a baseball town. O'Fallon has been a baseball town for a long time. There's so much community support around the program. You're right. Blazier is a very special place that we're trying to kind of almost turn into a little cathedral towards baseball, as it's a religion for me and hopefully a lot of my coaches and players. And so, it's been good so far. I just, don't want to mess it up this year. So we'll see how things work out after it's all said and done.
Well, we're going to be not only this, but met Josh Kinney, who runs the O'Fallon Bombers organization. We're going to be over in O'Fallon this year on our winter workout tour. So we're heading over there to get a look at the Bombers. We've seen them play a lot of youth baseball over here. So now we're going to go in, take the cameras in, and get a little look at how these kids are growing up to play at O'Fallon Township High School, Coach. So I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
That's awesome. And shout out to Coach Kenny. He actually volunteers at our free baseball clinic that we put on at the Mike Kelly Foundation. Awesome guy. The Bombers are doing a great, and I know we're wrapping things up, but I will also say it's a baseball town when we have 5 or 6 youth programs that all are trying to do their best to make their kids prepared to play for us. And we got the Bombers, we've got the A's, we've got, of course, the Gators and Collinsville Extreme. And, it's just, there's a lot of good youth baseball starting at the 8U, 7U level, all the way up to high school levels. And it is awesome to see. And programs like yourself that are putting that kind of spotlight on those programs, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Very kind of you, sir. Very kind. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to it, having a good season. Head coach over at the O'Fallon Township High School, the Panthers, Dave Causey. Coach, we really do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on anytime.
We're definitely going to take you up on that. Folks, if you like what we're doing, please take a moment, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button there. Share it out with your friends. Show us some support. It helps the algorithm. We also just started up our YBM Club. If you want some exclusive content, we got some great exclusive content. We got some player spotlights coming up. Our coaches previews. We're out visiting and doing some cool stuff. We're building our club up. If you want to get in on it, become a Legacy member. The first 100 Legacy member, 50% off. It helps us continue to do what we do here. We sure appreciate your support. So, again, thanks for tuning in, folks. Have a great day in the Lord. Remember to subscribe. Hey, and all you pitchers, Coach, you got some advice for pitchers?
For pitchers, I would say throw strikes. No one cares how hard you throw ball for. Throw strikes. That's my advice to pitchers.
I love it. And all you hitters, you know the old saying, hit them where they ain't. We'll see you
That's
all
right.
next time